I honestly think if a team, any team, Newcastle, whoever it is, play like that every week, you'll win some, you'll lose some, you'll draw some, and that in many ways captures Newcastle's recent form. Well, hello again from here inside the City ground, where I'm going to try to make sense of what has just happened out there on the pitch. It was the very first question I asked of Eddie Howe in his press conference just downstairs there, and yeah, he admitted again, you know, we use that phrase, don't we, some good, some bad, and I think that does just about capture it, because what I will say is, while there is the euphoria, and I think you guys, Newcastle supporters, have not long left the stadium there over my shoulder, while there's the euphoria of another crazy contest, this time Newcastle have come out on top, and yes, it's a brilliant win, it's an important win for lots of different reasons we'll explore. I honestly think if a team, any team, Newcastle, whoever it is, play like that every week, you'll win some, you'll lose some, you'll draw some, and that in many ways captures Newcastle's recent form. They're making the entertainers look defensively sound and defensively cautious by comparison. I've just written in my mail on Sunday a match report for you guys, never mind the great entertainers, the great tormentors, because I don't know what it must be like for you watching them as supporters. For me as a journalist who covers Newcastle, and you know, again, I always say I'm writing these reports at the deadline, I didn't have a clue after an hour what way that game was going to go, and that in itself, that is a clue, I think, as to where Newcastle are currently at. Because how can, I don't want to sound negative, because that's a brilliant win and there's lots to celebrate about it, which we will do, but how can you as a manager, as a coach, as a journalist, as a player, as a supporter, place any degree of confidence and trust in a team that can play like that? There was 5 or 6 different performances there in the course of one match. In the first 10, 15, 20 minutes, that was honestly, I think, the best I've seen Newcastle play all season at times. They had 86% possession. Eddie Howe, Pepe Howe, Eddie Guardiola, whatever you want to call him. I've tried a few of those, none of them really work. Eddie Howe. He employed this new tactic whereby Kieran Trippier, an inverted fullback, Kieran Trippier was coming into the deep line position alongside Louis Miley when they had the ball. There's the double pivot we've all been asking for. Bruno Guimaraes was pushed further upfield with it, which in the end proved a match-winning contribution, but nonetheless left gaps at the other end. But for the first 15-20 minutes, to go back to that, the new system, the slightly different use of personnel, you know, going to a back three when they had the ball, it worked. I thought they were brilliant. I thought they passed the ball well. I thought they were crisp. They looked like scoring. They take the lead through that wonderful short corner routine that was so, to begin with, it looked so sloppily executed, but how polished it was in the end. Almiron plays it short. Looks like he's undercooked it. Trippier just gets there, whips it at the far post. Bruno Guimaraes comes in with a carbon copy. Remember the goal at home to Brentford last year? Those set-piece routines, it's no surprise to hear Bruno Guimaraes afterwards dedicate that goal to Jason Mad Dog Tyndall for the work he does, and every now and again just pull these set-piece routines out of their back pocket, and how that seems like such a low percentage one to pull off, really, given how much of it has to go right. But that's twice now they've scored important goals. The Bruno goal last year set them on the way to a really good victory, and again here today. So fair play to them for doing that. But from that point, they are 1-0 up in the game. They are playing well, and you're thinking, you know, this team at the moment, they're all over the place. But for once, this might just actually be a little bit of a routine away win, especially against a team who have lost 4 from 5 at home. Yeah, we were wrong. From that point, Newcastle lost control. How many times have we said that? And if you asked Siri, show me Newcastle conceding a goal, that would have been it for the first goal. It's one pass to break the midfield. It's one pass to put a ball in behind Dan Burn. Anthony Elanga's away. Martin Dubravka now, I don't know what he was thinking, to be honest with you. He rushes from the edge of his area, comes out of his box, and coming out of his box, a goalkeeper almost renders himself redundant. He can't use his hands, and all he's going to do is probably give a foul away. That makes Anthony Elanga's mind up. He slips the ball beneath him for 1-1. It was a bad goal to concede. Now, we've got to focus in on Dan Burn, because I'm sat with my colleague, my friend, Martin Hardy from the Times, and, you know, we looked at the initial concession. You think, oh, you know, there's Dan Burn. That is everything we'd spoken about before the game, everything. Eddie had spent almost the entirety of his pre-match press conference answering questions on Dan Burn. And there we had it. 5 minutes before that, Forest had served notice. They hadn't had any of the ball. The 2 times they got the ball, they'd done the same thing, slipped the ball in behind Dan Burn. Elanga had beaten him earlier to race through on goal. Then Dubravka saves it on that occasion, but this time he does score. And you just think, At that point, Dan Burn's head must be all over the place. And you see, you put the description of the goal on Twitter, X, and the responses are all pretty predictable. And it felt in a sad way. I don't know. Were some people waiting for that? Yes, but then they were proved right in a way, because it is a weakness. But I do think the goal was about more than just Dan Burn. And what I do want to say is, take the game forward here to the 90th minute. I'm not going to skip out the entirety of the match. We will go over it. But Dan Burn recovered from what wasn't a good moment for him. It was something that, like I say, had been potentially in the post, you might say, but he recovers from that. I thought in the second half he was very good. And who is it in the 93rd, 94th minute? Blocks across there in the 6-yard area to protect those 3 points. It's Dan Burn, and I would give him a lot of praise for that. Nonetheless, the first goal, it's a bad moment. It's not just about Dan Burn, as I said. It's the midfield. No cohesion in the press, one ball through them, and it's that same combination going back to Boxing Day. Morgan Gibbs-White, all the space in the world, gets the pass through early, and Elanga scores the goal. That's 1-1. And from that point onwards, on the back of what I said was an absolutely brilliant start from Newcastle, some of the best they've played. From that point on, they never really had control of the game again. They retook the lead before half time, but if Forest had taken the lead in that same passage, you wouldn't have been at all surprised. Fabian Schär on the half volley, it's an absolutely brilliant finish. Credit to Dan Burn as well, he's in there causing chaos. Sven Botman knocks it down. That's 2-1. Even then at 2-1, you're thinking, that was the 42nd, 43rd minute, and I've said to those guys around me, there's another goal in this half. You just weren't convinced Newcastle could even make it to half time. So it proved, listen, there's an element of fortune. Hudson-Odoi cuts in. He has the shot off Louis Miley, goes in the bottom corner. Then in the second half, I thought Newcastle started the second half terribly, really poorly. Bear in mind how good they were in the first half. And this comes back to, can they ever... I can't remember the last time Newcastle put together a 90-minute performance. Sunderland, perhaps, but that was against Sunderland in the FA Cup. In the Premier League, when did they put together 90 minutes? And this is the point I go back to, and I make at the very top of this video. They're consistently inconsistent. There's no element of trust there, really. And then the big moment, Nuno Espirito Santo was just said to us downstairs, he thought was the decisive moment in the game, when a straight punt from Matt Sells, Matt Sells, Premier League footballer, wow, there you go. He didn't look good enough in the Championship for Newcastle. Making his debut here today, a straight punt downfield, and it breaches Newcastle's back line again. Ball jumps it behind. This time it's Aniwewe, please forgive me, Aniwewe, who gets him behind. Now, is it a penalty? He goes down. I think he's looking for it, but what I'll say is I think it's one of those. If Anthony Taylor gives the penalty, because there's contact from Martin Dubravka, I don't think it's overturned. When he doesn't give the penalty, I don't think his decision is overturned, because the contact is fairly minimal and it looks like he's lost control of the ball and maybe he's looking for it. But Newcastle did escape one there. Nuno's just said to us downstairs, I asked the question. He did the same Marco Silva trick. He said, well, what do you think to me? Oh, come on, we're getting a bit sick and tired of this now. It's not my press conference, it's your words we want. He eventually did relent and said no. He thought it was a clear penalty. And what I'll say is I thought he had a case, even if I would still probably think I'd side with the on-field decision. I've only seen it once or twice in the press box. I'd like to see it again. Interested to get your thoughts on that below the line, by the way. That then, so it's 2-2, isn't it? Yeah, we're racing through this. I hope this video is as entertaining as the game. It's 2-2. And you can't pick a winner at that stage out of the two teams, but you probably can pick the player or one of the players who was most likely to score it. And Bruno, I say this about him often, Donna, that he dons the superhero cape. Sometimes I mean that as a positive, sometimes I mean it as in a negative, in that I just wish you would, just dominate a game, control a game for the entirety, rather than these moments of brilliance in these sort of little periods of inspiration. But wow, when he does it, and when he does that, and I thought he was very good there tonight, and we'll get to the merit stars. He reads the pass from Elanga in field, and then he does that thing where he shuffles the ball into the bottom corner almost. It can sometimes be a criticism that he doesn't kick the ball cleanly, but when he does it, when he has that precision without the need to really put his laces through it, he made it impossible for Sell. There was some suggestion, could Sells have done more? No, I just thought Bruno put it in the one spot, through legs, through bodies, where he couldn't get it. And I've never hidden my admiration of Bruno. What is a fantastic footballer. Like I say, I just wish at times he was part of a midfield that could control a game. Nonetheless, it's 3-2. Newcastle's in a winning position. There are one or two nervy moments. Are you convinced at that stage they're going to see the game out? No, not whatsoever. There were a couple of nervy moments late on. Like I say, Dan Burn, credit to him, because I thought he stepped up there in the second half, won a couple of big headers, puts his foot in, and they end up seeing out the victory. And now, why is it an important win? Why is Eddie Howe just called it massive downstairs there? I think to have back-to-back draws and back-to-back high-scoring draws against Luton and Forest, I think would have just been a little bit deflating. I think that was a huge 3 points. It's 4 wins on the spin in all competitions away from home now. And we know Newcastle's home form, it feels like a blip at home. We know how good they are there. I think they'll get that back. The one thing they had to solve was the form on the road. And it looks as if they've done that now. So that is why I just think this was a huge victory for them. Now the merit stars in reverse order, I'm going to go 1 star to Sean Longstaff. I just thought he never hid there tonight. At times I thought the midfield started brilliantly, but then struggled a little bit. I honestly thought Longstaff, not everything he did was perfect, but I thought he always wanted the ball. I thought he saw a lot of the ball. He got up, he got down. So what 1 star to Sean Longstaff. I think he did okay out there tonight. I really did. 2 stars goes to Kieran Trippier. That assist for the first goal is excellent. I thought the way he stepped into midfield, even though that plan was scuppered a little bit as the game went on, I thought the way he stepped into midfield, he showed a real maturity and a calming presence alongside Miley. 2 stars goes to Kieran Trippier, and the 3, there's only one man, Bruno Guimaraes, the superhero. While chaos reigned, so too did King Bruno. I thought he was tremendous. As the game went on, I actually thought he got better at times in the second half there, where he's so cute, how he wins fouls, how he just escapes a man. There was one ball towards the end where he should be dead on his feet really. He's beaten a man and he's dropped it in behind for Callum Wilson to chase. I think was it the incident where Wilson ended up hurting his arm? I'll come back to that in a second. But I just thought Bruno Guimaraes, without him tonight there, Newcastle don't win that game, and he really was the difference maker and the deserved recipient of my 3 stars, which I'm sure he'll be absolutely thrilled about if you are watching Bruno. Now, the not so good news for Newcastle. I've just spoken to Eddie Howe about this downstairs. Callum Wilson has an injury to a muscle in his arm. Now, Eddie Howe said, quote, it wasn't serious. We've heard that before. Let's wait and see what that feels like, because at the moment Alexander Isak looks like he's going to be out next weekend against Bournemouth, and that would leave Newcastle without a striker if Wilson's arm does need a period of rest. Just when, if Wilson comes back and a muscle injury goes, you say, right, okay, that was expected, that's what happens. But a freak type arm injury like it was just sort of sums up Newcastle's look. Jacob Murphy just quickly felt a calf in the warm-up. He wouldn't have been used from the bench tonight, even though he was there. And Anthony Gordon, we thought he was out yesterday. Eddie said his wording on that wasn't entirely clear yesterday. Maybe it wasn't. Maybe for once it was us guys. But listen, there was a room full of 20 journalists yesterday who all thought the same thing. Gordon wasn't going to play today. So anyway, listen, it doesn't really matter. Ultimately, I think Eddie led us down a path to a certain door, and we were more than happy to walk on right through yesterday. But it doesn't matter. Gordon jumped off the team coach earlier, played here tonight, and did okay. I thought, especially in the first half, the moments when he looked really dangerous, really threatening. I honestly believe with him in the team, I just think Newcastle are so much better. But listen, Eddie said it himself downstairs. This brings me back to the very start of the video. The cohesion, the weaknesses, some of the flaws, which we've spoken about at length in recent weeks, they do remain. That midfield is a 3, which I flagged up in the preview video. Again, I just don't think it works over 90 minutes. Louis Miley was played deeper tonight. I thought Miley started really well, looked at home in that position, then gets caught out for the goal and faded a little bit in the second half, as a 17-year-old is entitled to, but nonetheless, I thought he did a lot of good. I thought, like I said, he started the game really well, as they all did. But some of the familiar concerns remain. But in the end, I would say it is just about a deserved victory, even though at one point I was expecting to write about any one of the 3 results. So there you go, guys. That was breathless as what we've just seen over 90 or so minutes there. Please hit like, comment and subscribe. Plenty of debate below the line. I always love that in these post-match videos. Agree, disagree, whatever you like. I'll try and come back to as many as possible. So I'll see you again at the end of the week ahead of Bournemouth. Okay, thank you again for watching, guys. Take care. Bye-bye.